Discover the heartwarming moment when a single dad transforms a female CEO's life at a wedding. Jack's hands were calloused, his jeans stained with grease, but to his 8-year-old daughter Emily, he was a superhero. He ran a small auto repair shop in their cozy Midwestern town, a place where dreams met reality every day. At 38, he poured all his love into raising Emily, creating joyous adventures from the simplest of moments, like ice cream runs after school or movie nights wrapped in blankets on the couch. They lived modestly, but love graced every corner of their lives, especially as Jack worried about making ends meet. Then came the invitation to Sarah's wedding. Jack felt a whirlwind of excitement and trepidation. Sarah, his childhood friend, had blossomed into a successful CEO, signaling a world of luxury that Jack had only seen from a distance. The shiny cars and glamorous dresses decorating the wedding venue felt alien to the hard-working man who spent every day under the hood of cars. As they prepared for the big day, Jack wanted nothing more than to give Emily a fairy tale experience. The picturesque summer afternoon came alive as guests arrived in their flowing gowns and tailored suits, a flurry of laughter and chatter that filled the air. Jack's heart raced as he stepped into the venue, feeling tiny against the grandeur surrounding him. The flowers adorned in rare elegance, twinkling lights, and the crisp aroma of fine dining left him gasping in awe. But as he glanced at the faces around him wealthy and polished, he felt the pangs of insecurity creep in. He gripped Emily's hand tighter, determined not to let her feel the weight of their difference. As he scanned the crowd, Jack's eyes found Sarah laughing with old friends. Memories flooded back the carefree days of racing bikes and building forts. They shared a warm embrace, instantly reconnecting amidst the sea of affluence. Joy flickered in Jack's heart as they reminisced, the laughter flowing freely like it used to. But soon, the atmosphere soured as Sarah's affluent friends whispered snide comments about poor folks and working class. Jack noticed Emily shifting uncomfortably beside him, her expression darkening with anxiety. It all crumbled when tears welled up in Emily's big blue eyes. Her little heart felt overwhelmed, the lavish setting closing in like a trap. Jack knelt down beside her, brushing her hair back from her face. Listen to me. This day doesn't change our story. You are perfect just as you are, and we have each other. You're my whole world. In that moment, time stood still. Jack's voice wrapped around Emily like a warm embrace, soothing her racing heart. He felt pride swell, knowing that love could conquer the daunting walls built by wealth. Sarah caught sight of Jack and Emily, their fragile bond standing strong against the superficiality of the gathering. As she watched, realizations dawned on her. Maybe success wasn't about prestige at all. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Inspired by Jack's authenticity, Sarah had a new perspective on her life. Their old friendship blossomed anew, and together they forged a community initiative aimed at uplifting those struggling just like Jack. As heartfelt conversations unfolded into the evening, Jack and Sarah began to reshape their paths, exploring how they could forge a connection that could change lives. The reception danced with warmth, laughter, and a connection that transcended their pasts. As Jack and Sarah delved deeper into their hopes for the future, the air crackled with potential. But would they truly break free from the chains of judgment that hung in the shadows? Would Jack and Emily find their place in a world that felt foreign? The answers loomed, as the night sparkled, leaving hearts open to possibilities. The music swelled as the evening progressed, a soulful melody that wrapped around the guests like a soft blanket. Jack watched as Sarah rejoined the festivities, her laughter merging with the sounds of joy echoing throughout the venue. He felt a warmth spreading in his chest, a mix of pride and hope. Maybe this wasn't just a wedding, maybe it was the start of something bigger. As the night wore on, Jack could see the wonder in Emily's eyes. She was still fidgeting with the delicate bracelet Sarah had gifted her. It sparkled under the lights, just like Emily's smile. He loved this little girl more than anything, and he would do everything to protect her shine from the world's harsh realities. "Daddy," she whispered, pulling at his sleeve. "Can we dance?" Jack chuckled, a little self-conscious. He wasn't exactly a dancer, but seeing her sweet face, so full of hope, it filled him with courage. "Of course, Em." He took her small hand and led her to the dance floor. They twirled and spun, creating their little world amidst a sea of suits and gowns. Jack couldn't remember the last time he had felt so free. Emily laughed, her carefree giggles ringing out, pure and bright. Jack joined her, lost in the moment, forgetting for a while the worries that brewed back at the shop, the bills piling up, and the whispers of rich people that lingered in his mind. But soon, the spell was broken. A familiar voice cut through the revelry, a harsh tone, dripping with the same condescension that had stung earlier. "Look at the working-class dad trying to fit in," one of Sarah's friends sneered, loud enough for Jack to hear. Jack felt the blood rush to his face. His heart sank as he turned to Emily, wanting to shield her from that kind of hurt, but her eyes were wide and confused. "Hey!" Sarah interjected, stepping up beside them, her voice firm. "That's my friend, and he's one of the best fathers I know. How about you show a little respect?" The shocked silence in the air was palpable, broken only by the soft hush of the music. Jack felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. Sarah was standing up for him, highlighting the beauty of their friendship, and in that moment, their bond felt unbreakable. "Thank you," he mumbled, the words sticking in his throat. But before he could say more, Emily tugged on his sleeve again. "Daddy, can we keep dancing?" "Absolutely," he said, his voice steadied by her presence. They returned to the dance floor, and this time, the music felt lighter. As the night wore on, Jack and Sarah found themselves sitting at a table, the bustle of the wedding fading into comfortable conversation. They discussed their vision, brainstorming ways to help. Their community ideas were flowing as freely as the champagne. "I can't believe how much we've changed," Sarah remarked with a soft smile. "You have a way about you, Jack. It puts everything in perspective." "Yeah, well, it's easy to get lost in this kind of world," he replied, glancing around. "But what I have with Emily, that's what really matters." Sarah nodded, her expression thoughtful, "and that's what we need more of, people who don't get lost in the glitter." As the clock approached midnight, Jack noticed how the crowd began to thin, leaving a mix of laughter and quiet goodbyes. A sense of contentment settled in him, but also an unshakable feeling that this wasn't the end. "Let's make this happen, Sarah," he said, determination seeping into his voice. "Let's really make a difference." But just as their plans began to solidify in the aftermath of the wedding, an unexpected phone call rattled Jack's resolve. As he glanced down at his buzzing phone, the number flashing shocked him and fear flooded back in a rush. When he answered, the voice on the other end would change everything. Jack's fingers trembled as he held the phone to his ear. The voice on the other end was deep and gravelly, laced with urgency. "Jack, it's Alan." His heart dropped at the mention of his old mentor's name. They hadn't spoken in years, and Alan's tone told him this wasn't a casual chat. "What's wrong?" Jack's voice was steady, but inside, anxiety twisted like a storm. "I'm at the hospital. Your father, he collapsed. They're running tests." The news hit him like a punch. Jack felt the world fade around him, the vibrant wedding fading into a blur of colors and loud music. He could feel Emily's small hand slip from his grip, but all his focus was drawn to Alan's voice. "Jack, I'm so sorry. You need to get here." "Right, I'll be there." The words came out unsteady. He hung up, his breath quickening. The celebration continued around him, but the smiles felt hollow now. Sarah was still at the table, those concerned eyes scanning his face for answers. She rose, sensing the shift in the air. "Jack. What happened?" He swallowed hard, the weight of the news almost too much to bear. My dad, he's in the hospital. The concern in her face deepened. Oh no. What do you need? Emily, he said, the thought of leaving her behind adding to his panic. I need to get to the hospital, but I can't do that to her. Not tonight. Take her with you. I'll drive. Sarah's voice cut through his worry like a warm breeze. She'll want to be with you. Jack felt a flicker of gratitude mixed with guilt. What about you? This is your friend's wedding. I'll handle it. Just focus on your dad. There was such a strength in her that he could only nod, knowing how lucky he was to have her by his side. With a quick glance around the room, Jack spotted Emily, her bright dress making her easy to find. Her innocence seemed to shine even more brightly under the fading lights. He felt a surge of love for her, mixed with the dread of what lay ahead. He crouched down to her level, searching her eyes. We have to go. Your grandpa is in trouble, and we need to be with him. Emily frowned, her small brows knitting together. Is he okay? I don't know, Jack admitted, fighting back his panic, but we're going to be there for him. Just like we always are, right? She nodded, trusting him without hesitation. As they walked toward the exit, Sarah held open the door, her presence steady and reassuring. The cool night air washed over them, a stark contrast to the warmth of the celebration they were leaving behind. Jack clutched Emily's hand tighter, feeling the weight of the world settle on his shoulders. The drive to the hospital was steeped in silence, punctuated only by the gentle hum of the engine. Emily curled up in the back seat, her eyes wide and contemplative, perhaps sensing the gravity of the moment. Jack's mind raced as he replayed memories from his youth, the good and the bad, hoping for something that would ease the tension in his heart. As they pulled into the hospital parking lot, Jack took a deep breath, gathering his strength. We're in this together, he said softly. No matter what happens. She looked up at him, her wide eyes filled with understanding, and gave a small smile. But as they walked into the hospital, the neon lights shining above them felt like a warning rather than a welcome. The sterile smell of disinfectant filled the air, and Jack's heart raced faster with each step down the long corridor. Then it happened. In the midst of the anxious chatter of doctors and the beeping of machines, he caught sight of a familiar figure. A tall man sat hunched over in one of the waiting chairs, his shoulders trembling slightly. Jack's anticipation turned to dread as he recognized the man as his brother. And behind all of that, the unspoken fraying of their family loomed, unsettling and heavy. Jack! His brother's voice called out, panic and relief intertwining. In that moment, Jack knew that their fragile family ties were about to unravel in ways he couldn't yet comprehend. What other truths would come to light in the hospital's cold embrace? Jack hesitated. He could see the worry etched on his brother's face, the way his hands gripped the armrest of the chair so tightly that his knuckles turned white. The room around them was a blur of commotion and noise, yet in that moment, it felt as if time had stopped. Daniel, Jack said, forcing himself to take a step forward. What happened? Daniel looked up, his eyes flooded with a mix of emotions: fear, anger, and something deeper, something that felt very much like regret. I don't know. We were talking, and he just collapsed. His voice was barely above a whisper. The doctors are running tests. They don't know much yet. Jack glanced back at Emily. She was still holding Sarah's hand, looking up at him with wide eyes that didn't yet understand the weight of the situation. He felt a rush of protectiveness and guilt. He wanted to shield her from this, to keep her safe from the heartache that constantly threatened to breach their family. Hey, sweet pea, Jack knelt beside Emily. Everything's going to be okay. Let us go see Grandpa. He hoped the shaky confidence in his voice could convince both of them. Can I hold your hand, Daddy? She asked softly, her small fingers reaching for his. Of course, he replied, expertly masking the tremor in his own hands as he took hers. Together, they moved toward the waiting area, with Daniel reluctantly following. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the weight of years of family tension was pulling him down. Jack could still remember the way things used to be: family dinners, laughter ringing in their home. Now, it was all chaotic silence and doubt. "Do you think he is going to be okay?" Emily asked, her innocent voice cutting through the noise. Jack searched for an answer, something reassuring that would ease the apprehension etched on her small face. "I really hope so, Em," he said, glancing at his brother, who appeared to be engrossed in the flickering screen of the hospital's information panel. "Your grandpa is strong. He's gotten through a lot before." Daniel shifted uncomfortably beside them and glanced fleetingly at Jack. "We can't think like that. We have to expect the worst. That's how this family runs. Always ready for the next disappointment." Jack felt a surge of frustration heat his cheeks. "It doesn't have to be this way. We can't just wait for bad news. What if we choose to believe things will be okay?" At that moment, a nurse appeared, her crisp white uniform contrasting starkly against the anxious crowd. "Jack Parker." She searched the waiting area, locking eyes with him and then extending a hand with a reassuring smile. "The doctor will see you now." Jack's heart raced. "Is my dad all right?" he asked, but the smile on the nurse's face faded just a little. "Please, come with me." Her tone was calm, but Jack could hear the undertone of uncertainty. He inhaled deeply, steeling himself for whatever this next moment held, dragging Daniel and Emily along behind him. "Wait." Daniel's voice interrupted the rush. "What do you mean, come with me?" "Just tell us, Daniel," Jack said, feeling the weight of the moment. "We have to trust her. She'll share what she can. Right now, we need to be there for him and for each other." As they followed the nurse through the maze of hallways, Jack felt Emily's hand squeeze his tighter, a lifeline in the unfolding chaos. Each step echoed the silent prayers he didn't dare voice out loud. But as they entered the room, everything changed. The smell of antiseptic hit hard, and in the bed, surrounded by machines, was his father, pale and still. Jack's heart dropped into his stomach. There was a heaviness in the air, a knot of fear tightening around him. "Stop right there," came a sharp voice from the back of the room. It was another family member, someone he hadn't seen in years, standing in the corner looking more like a shadow than a person. Jack felt a wave of anger mixed with trepidation at what was about to happen. How many secrets were waiting to spill as the family confronted its past in this sterile room? "Who invited you?" Jack shot back, the words slipping out before he could stop them. The presence of his estranged cousin, Mark, felt like a storm cloud hovering over an already dark moment. Mark stepped further into the room, his arms crossed defiantly. "I'm family, just like you," he said, the bite in his voice undeniable. "And if we're being honest, you know our father would want me here, especially in a situation like this." Jack felt his pulse quicken. He wanted to argue, to shove all the years of resentment and tension into words, but he knew this wasn't the time. Not with his father lying there, so vulnerable and weak. "Jack," Daniel's voice trembled, as if trying to hold the peace despite the rising tide of confrontation. "Can we focus on Dad?" Emily tugged on Jack's sleeve, her wide eyes a mirror of confusion. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to redirect his focus back to why they were all there. "Right," he said, kneeling to Emily's level. "We're here for Grandpa, Em. It's going to be okay." His voice cracked, and the determination crumbled slightly. Mark took a step closer to the bed, now peering down at the frail form of their father. It was a complicated mix of emotions: anger, nostalgia, and longing mingled inside Jack. Did Mark really care? Or was he here to stir up old wounds? "Dad?" Mark murmured, and the moment hung in the air, heavy and accusing. Jack hated how the sight of his brother's grief softened the edges of his own fury. "Shoo," the nurse who had led them in said gently, as she adjusted a monitor. "Let us allow the doctor to finish his rounds before we disturb him." "Disturb him?" Jack echoed, the disbelief morphing into something darker. How can you say that? He shouldn't be here, flat on this bed, tethered to machines. The words rushed out like a spout of boiling water, their intensity shocking even Jack himself. Surrounding them, he could feel the other family members shifting uncomfortably. The air felt thick with unresolved issues. Daniel stepped in, his voice steady though he looked shaken. "Jack, we need answers." Yelling won't change anything. "Maybe not, but I'll be damned if I stand here and let him." Jack pointed at Mark, his words full of contempt. "Enough." Mark cut in, his own frustration spilling out. "Do you think I want this? I've been dealing with my own issues, but this is our father. Can't we just come together for him?" Jack paused, his chest heavy. Did they even know how to come together anymore? Together? Jack scoffed, shaking his head. "Look at us. Together feels like a distant memory." A silence settled afterward, taut with the unspoken grief of their father's condition and the tangled history between them. For a moment, they were just three sons. Emily tugged at Jack's hand again. "Daddy, can we say a prayer for Grandpa?" He looked down at her sweet, innocent face. A wave of warmth washed over him, blooming in the cracks of their fractured family. Perhaps Emily was right. Perhaps there was a way to bridge the divide, even if only for a fleeting moment. "Okay, sweetheart," he replied, his voice barely a whisper. Jack took a deep breath, and as he gathered the other two brothers, he felt a glimmer of hope pushing through the darkness. "Let us hold hands," he suggested softly, feeling the weight of the moment settle around them. As they stood in a circle, Jack felt the tension ease slightly, like threads loosening from an old rug. But then Mark spoke up. "We need to talk about what happens next." The words hung in the air, full of possibility and dread. What lay ahead could change everything for them all, just like the moment they were sharing. Jack swallowed hard, heart racing again. Would they really confront the past? Would this be the turning point they had all feared? And then the door opened. Another nurse stepped in with a serious expression, her words igniting a spark of apprehension. "I'm sorry to disturb you, but we need to discuss your father's condition." The words hung in the air like a lead weight. The nurse's expression was grave, her voice steady but gentle. Jack's heart pounded in his chest. He shot a quick glance at Emily, who was now peering up at him, eyes wide with concern, oblivious to the tension simmering around her. "Discuss his condition?" Mark echoed, taking a half step back from the bed, instinctively defensive. "What do you mean?" The nurse nodded, sadness flickering across her features. "Your father's vital signs are fluctuating. We need to make some decisions soon regarding his care." Jack felt the ground shift beneath him. Decisions? The word sent his mind reeling. Did they really have to make plans on what to do if things got worse? His throat tightened at the thought. Can't he just get better? Emily whispered, and the innocence in her voice shattered Jack's resolve. Of course he can, Mark said hastily, his frustration boiling back to the surface. He's a fighter. A fighter? Jack scoffed, the bitterness spilling over again. Do you even know what he has been through? All those years and you show up now, acting like you know him better than I do. Jack Daniel started, but his voice was swallowed by Jack's rising tide of emotions. It's not worth it, Mark said, his voice low but firm. Let us stay focused. Stay focused, Jack echoed sarcastically as his mind whirled. How could they stay focused when their lives felt suspended? Time stood still in that sterile hospital room. How can we even think about the future if we don't know what is happening right now? What if the words faded as he stared at the machines blinking steadily beside his father's bed? Jack's heart sank. All his childhood memories roared back, each one a thread weaving the complicated tapestry of love and pain. Emily squeezed his hand tightly, and Jack looked down at her. Her little eyes sparkled with tears. Daddy, I'm scared. He knelt, wrapping his hands around her small shoulders. Me too, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. But we'll figure it out. Together. Mark's expression softened for a moment, and he stepped closer. This isn't just about us, Jack. It's about him. What he would want. Jack wanted to retort, but Daniel jumped in. Why don't we talk about what's best for Dad then? Jack straightened, surprised by the sudden collective focus. They were all feeling the weight of it now, the shared burden drawing them together like threads of a fraying rope. Okay, he said, finding a fragile strength in unity. Let us do that. But it has to be honest. No more pretending to be a family when we've ignored each other for so long. Mark nodded slowly. I'm willing to try. Me too, Daniel added, looking serious, yet hopeful. As their hands tightened around one another, a fragile connection formed. They stood there, united by purpose, and for a fleeting moment, the walls began to blur, the years of resentment softening as the reality of their father's health loomed larger than their grievances. Can we pray again? Emily asked, looking up expectantly. Jack nodded, feeling the vulnerability in his heart expand. Yes, we can, he said. They closed their eyes, the earnestness of the moment holding them together. Jack felt a surge of warmth unfurl in the pit of his stomach. Could they make this work? Could they really navigate their past while honoring the man they had all loved despite their differences? And while they bowed their heads, another nurse entered quietly, her expression shifting from one of urgency to something almost resolute. If you'll follow me, we need to discuss how to best help your father. Jack exchanged glances with his brothers, and the question hung heavy in the air. What did that mean for them? Was this finally the moment they needed to confront not just their father's situation, but their own tangled emotions as a family? With each step forward, the uncertainty loomed larger, and Jack felt both dread and hope. There were truths buried deep, secrets that might bring them together or tear them apart. Would this be the moment they'd been waiting for, or a point of no return? The nurse led them down a long corridor, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Jack felt every step heavy, like lead weights dragging at his feet. His brothers flanked him, each lost in their own thoughts, while Emily's small hand fit snugly in his, a lifeline amid the turmoil. As they reached a small conference room, the nurse gestured for them to sit. The sterile atmosphere of the room, with its bland walls and stark furniture, felt suffocating. Jack's heart raced as he stared at the table, willing it to speak. He couldn't shake the feeling that whatever came next would change everything. A doctor entered, clipboard in hand, his expression serious yet compassionate. Thank you for joining me. I'm Dr. Miller. I know this is a difficult time, and I want to be as clear as possible about your father's condition. Jack's stomach twisted at the words. He glanced at Emily, who was fidgeting, her young mind unable to grasp the weight of this discussion fully. He squeezed her hand tighter. Doctor Miller cleared his throat, then continued. Your father is currently stable, but his prognosis is uncertain. We need to make decisions about his care, particularly regarding life support options. Life support? Mark blurted out, disbelief lacing his voice. Is it really that serious? Unfortunately, yes. He is not responding as we hoped, Dr. Miller explained, his gaze softening as he looked from Mark to Jack. We can perform a series of interventions, but we need to consider the quality of life and what your father would want. Jack's mind raced, tormented by memories of his father's laughter, the way he used to toss a baseball with him, the warmth of their shared moments. But now, those memories felt like fragile glass, shattering under the weight of reality. What do we do? Jack's voice cracked as he tried to maintain his composure. What if he doesn't wake up? Dr. Miller took a breath, the gravity of the situation heavy in the air. We need to consider his wishes. Did he ever express his views about end-of-life care? What type of person was he when it came to something like this? Jack met his brother's eyes, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Their father had always been a man who valued independence, never one to burden others. Dad, he wouldn't want us to suffer. Not like this, Jack murmured, the dawning realization crashing over him like a wave. Daniel shifted, his expression full of conflict. But we can't just give up on him. What if there is hope? And what if there isn't? Jack snapped, the weight of conflicting emotions boiling to the surface. It felt wrong to be fighting amongst themselves now, yet the need to protect each other and their father made it impossible to stay calm. Emily looked between them, her innocence like a bright light in the gloom. Can't we pray about it again? A silence fell, and Jack stared at her small face. He realized something vital in that moment. No matter how difficult things became, they were all still a family, wrapped together in love, fear, and memories that shaped them. Yeah, let us pray, he said, forced strength lining his voice. They huddled closer, the warmth of their joined hands a stark contrast to the chill of the room. As he bowed his head, Jack felt tears prick at his eyelids, the vulnerability of that moment overwhelming. Please help us, he whispered, words spilling from a heart desperate for guidance. When they opened their eyes, that sense of unity felt stronger than ever. Still, the gnawing uncertainty lingered. What would happen next? Could they really face the heart-wrenching decisions ahead? As they stepped out of the conference room, the air turned electric with anticipation, each brother's expression a mixture of dread and determination. Jack felt that something was shifting. Were they really ready to confront their father's final wishes, or would this moment break them apart forever? The road ahead loomed dark, and Jack felt an unsettling mixture of fear and newfound resolve. What other truths would they have to uncover before it was all over? The fluorescent lights flickered as they stepped back into the hospital's bustling hallway, the noise of beeping machines and distant voices a stark reminder of their current reality. Jack's heart raced, but in a different way now. It was heavy but fueled by the urgency to protect his family. Emily walked quietly beside him, her small hand still holding on tight, and it made him realize they had no choice but to lean on each other during this storm. Mark broke the silence first. We have to talk about what we want to do. What Dad would want. His voice was steady, but Jack could see the tension beneath the surface, a tight grip on hope smothered by fear. Right, but how do we even start? Daniel's brow furrowed as they walked toward the waiting area, their family's history weighing down on them like stones in a backpack. Jack felt the urge to scream, to throw a fist against a wall, but instead, he closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He opened them and met his brother's eyes. We can't make this decision in bits and pieces. We need to come together as a family. Remember how he was with us. He wouldn't want us fighting. Daniel nodded, the fight falling from his posture. Okay, so how do we do that? Jack thought of his father, his laughter, the way he always encouraged them to talk things out. Let us share our memories of him. Let us remember who he was and what he would want for himself. Mark flinched. I don't want to think about that. What if he doesn't want to let go? Then we'll figure it out together, Jack insisted, though uncertainty crept into his voice. It's better than arguing. Jack glanced at Emily, who was now staring up at them with wide eyes, not understanding the depths of their pain. He knelt down beside her, his heart aching. Can you tell us a memory about Grandpa? Something happy? Emily's face lit up, and she wrinkled her nose in thought. He took me to the park. We played on the swings. He pushed me so high, I thought I could touch the sky. Mark chuckled softly, and for a brief moment, the tension broke. Yeah, Dad always had a knack for making the simplest things feel magical, he said, a smile creeping onto his face despite the heaviness of their predicament. With her simple, innocent recollection, Emily had opened a door. We have a lot of moments like that, don't we? Jack said, his voice growing stronger. There's laughter, and stories, and all the love he gave us. That has to count for something. True, Daniel replied, wiping a tear that threatened to fall. But we also have to face the hard part. What if he never wakes up? No matter what happens, we owe it to him to make sure we share our memories. Let us not let fear shut us down. Jack straightened, feeling a spark of determination igniting within him. We can also focus on his living will. Let us find out what he wanted. As they walked, a family once more, they felt the weight of the hospital's walls around them. The air filled with memories, both sweet and sharp, as they approached the family lounge. It was time to speak with someone who could guide them through this maze of emotions and choices, but before they could reach the door, Jack spotted a figure in the distance. A familiar presence emerged from the crowd, and his heart skipped a beat. "Mom!" he exclaimed, disbelief flooding through him. The moment hung precariously, suspended in a mixture of relief and dread. What was she doing here now, at a time when they had so much to figure out? Did she have answers, or would this only complicate their already tangled emotions? Jack felt the ground shift beneath him again, the weight magnified, as he wondered whether their family could truly hold together with so many unresolved connections still hanging in the air. Jack's breath caught in his throat as he took a cautious step toward his mother. Her presence was a rush of emotions, relief mixed with uncertainty, joy tangled with fear. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Jack managed to ask, his voice a mix of eagerness and apprehension. The heaviness of their family history bore down on him, yet he longed for her warmth, for some insight into the chaos swirling around them. She looked weary but composed, her eyes pooling with unspilled tears. "I heard about your father. I couldn't stay away." Her voice trembled, but her resolve remained firm. "I wanted to be here for you boys." Daniel stepped forward, his expression sure but betrayed by a glimmer of vulnerability. "We were just talking about what he would want." The words hung between them, soaked in the weight of unspoken fears. "Did you find out any information?" Mark's voice broke through, practical and anxious. "We need to know what he wanted, Mom. What should we do?" She took a deep breath, her fingers brushing against the gold chain around her neck, the one Jack had seen her clutch so many times in moments of stress. "Your father, he had a living will." The words came out slowly, like stones dropped into still water, causing ripples of emotions to spread across each of them. "What does it say?" Jack asked, the urgency in his voice echoing against the tiled walls. Her shoulders slumped slightly, a signal of vulnerability. "I can't discuss all the details here. Let us find somewhere private." She gestured to a nearby waiting room. There, they could close the door, spin their memories away from the world outside, where colleagues and strangers bustled about, unaware of the storm within. Once inside, the four of them formed a tight circle as if instinctively trying to preserve their family unit against the whirlwind of uncertainty. Jack folded his arms, swallowing hard. What did he really want? "Your father wanted dignity, for himself and for all of you." In his will, he mentioned. She hesitated, a curtain of pain pulling across her features. "He wanted no extraordinary measures if he couldn't come back to us. He didn't want to linger in a state he wouldn't recognize." Every word landed like a blow, a reckoning against their hopes. Daniel looked down, his fist clenched tight. "So, what does that mean for us now?" The silence offered no comfort. Jack felt a storm brewing in his chest, each pulse of frustration fighting against the tears he wanted to shed. "We have to honor that, right? Whatever he wanted." "Yes," his mother said, her voice trembling now. "But it's not going to be easy. We need to want the same thing." Emily, who had been quiet until now, looked up, her innocent curiosity piercing through the heavy atmosphere. "Does that mean we won't get to see Grandpa again?" The question hit everyone hard. Jack leaned down, meeting her gaze. "Honey, it means we'll remember the good things." Tears filled her large eyes, the weight of understanding pressing down on her small shoulders. They each had dreams of turning back time. Every laugh shared, every sunset watched, it crushed them to think they might lose the man who filled their lives with such light. Mark's voice broke the tension. "We should celebrate him while we're figuring this out. A gathering, maybe?" "That's a beautiful idea," their mother said, a flicker of hope igniting in her expression. "He would want to have everyone who loved him come together." Jack felt strength surging in him. "Then let us plan something. Something he would love." As they continued to discuss ways to honor their father's legacy, their connection felt as tender as a ribbon binding them. Just then, Jack's phone buzzed in his pocket. He checked it, his heart dropping as a new hospital alert flashed on the screen. "There's an update from the doctors," he murmured, the air heavy with what that could mean. The fear spiked again, and urgency began to overtake the moment they had just sculpted, but they couldn't back down now. Their father deserved better, and as a family, they had to rise to the occasion. "Let us do this for him," Jack said, gripping his mother's hand. "Together, we can face whatever comes next." With that determination in place, Jack wondered if they were truly ready for the news at hand. What awaited them in the corridor could shatter everything they were starting to rebuild. Would the updates bring clarity or send them spiraling into uncertainty again? As Jack's heart raced, he walked out of the small waiting room with his family surrounding him, a careful knot of resolve forming their circle. The echo of urgent footsteps met them as they stepped into the bustling corridor. Jack clenched his phone tighter, apprehension swirling in his gut like a mighty storm. The nurse who had called him earlier caught sight of them again, her expression shifting from concern to plain matter-of-fact. "Mr. Parker, we need you to come back into the room," she said gently but firmly. Each step toward his father's room felt heavier than the last, dragging through the culmination of memories, emotions, and the looming unknown. Jack glanced back at Emily, who clutched his hand, her innocent face a stark contrast to the weight of their situation. He didn't want her to see the cracks forming around them, he needed to shield her from the harsh realities of life. Once in the room, the fluorescent lights hummed softly above as Jack laid eyes on his father, connected to monitors that beeped steadily, a rhythm of life and death interwoven. The sight sent a familiar wave of fear crashing down on him. Dr. Miller stood near the bed, his expression serious yet compassionate as always. "Jack, thank you for coming so quickly. I need to discuss your father's condition and the choices we are facing." Gulping hard, Jack attempted to brace himself. "What's the situation?" The air felt thick, charged with unanswered questions that hung heavily in the room. "Your father is stable for now but remains unresponsive. We recommend having the family present to discuss options. It's important that you all make decisions together regarding care." His tone was sympathetic, yet Jack sensed the weight of each word. Unsure what to say, he turned to his brothers and mother, searching for strength among them. Their collective gaze held a mixture of grief and unspoken fears, much like his own. "Dad wouldn't want us to suffer," Jack finally said, the words feeling like a declaration. "He always talked about living life fully, about no regrets. We need to honor that." Mark nodded, his brow furrowed with emotions. "And if that means letting him go, we have to support him in that too." Emily looked up at them, wide-eyed, absorbing the conversation despite her innocence. "Will he be okay? Can we make him wake up?" Her small voice cut through the tension like sunlight through clouds. Jack knelt to her level, forcing a smile. "We'll always have him with us, Em. The love we shared will never fade. That's what he taught us." Their mother wiped a tear from her cheek, her sorrow mixing with fierce pride. "Finding a way through this is about being honest with ourselves. We owe it to your father to do what's best." As the reality of their decision loomed larger, the siblings began sharing memories, moments filled with laughter and adventure that reminded them of the man they loved. "Remember when Dad took us to the lake?" Daniel recalled, a hint of a smile breaking through his sorrow. "He pushed us on the boat, acting like we were pirates." Mark chimed in, laughter bubbling through the grief. "And remember how he let us catch all the fish we wanted, even if it meant having to clean them later?" Their mother felt a soft warmth spread across her heart as they spoke, hope materializing amid darkness. "Those memories are treasures," she encouraged. "Each one is a testament to the love he gave us." Jack felt the tears start to swell, a mix of gratitude and anguish. "Exactly," he said, his voice steady yet fragile. "He wouldn't want us to be haunted by what we might lose, but rather uplifted by what we've had." With renewed clarity, the siblings nodded to each other, an unbreakable bond forming in shared resolve. Jack turned back to the doctor, determination lighting his expression. Let us follow his wishes. We want to allow him to suffer. We want to honor him. Dr. Miller nodded slowly, his expression filled with understanding. I'll prepare the necessary paperwork. Emotional weight hung in the air, but where there had once been despair, there now blossomed unity and compassion. As the nurse left the room, Jack felt a spark of immense strength rising within him. The love they held for each other and their father wrapped around them like an unshakable shield. Emily pulled at the sleeve of his shirt, breaking the newfound solemn quiet. Can we say goodbye? She asked gently, her voice trembling with hope. Jack bent down again, wrapping his arms around her. Yes, sweetheart. Let us say goodbye the best way we know how, with love. They gathered close to the bed, forming a circle with Emily in the middle. Jack held her small hand tightly, feeling the warmth of family envelop them. Together, they let the tears flow and memories fade into whispers of love. As they each took turns speaking, recounting big and small moments of joy and laughter, he felt the weight of their father's legacy etched into their hearts. They would carry him with them, his light radiant and unwavering, a source of strength in life's trials. In that moment, Jack realized they were not just bidding farewell to a loved one but ushering in a new chapter. A story of unlaced burdens and a family finally willing to confront their past and embrace the future. They were whole again, messy and tangled, but radiant all the same, just like family should be. It was time to celebrate the man who had given them life, who had shared laughter, who had taught them love. And in that sacred space of farewell, there was a promise to carry each other and every cherished memory forward. You need to subscribe now to make sure you never miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm and keep the magic alive. Let us know in the comments how this ending made you feel. We want to hear from you. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformative journey. Your support means everything.